Welcome to Strategies for Financing Your Morehouse Education. Welcome to our Financial Aid Session 102. Welcome to Morehouse. We are excited that you have been accepted. We're just going to take some time to congratulate you at this moment. For all those students, as you know, it's coming up very, very soon. You're going to get your admit decisions coming soon. So look out for those notification dates. And again, welcome to Morehouse College. We have so much in store for you for this session entitled Strategies for Financing Your Morehouse Education. All right, I am your moderator for this evening. I am Michael Gum, Director of Admissions, Class of 2010. I'm excited to have join with us our Director of Financial Aid and Scholarships, Mr. Jonathan Jordan. And I'm going to have him come off mute for a second and just say hello to you all, tell you a little bit about himself, and then we're going to go into our Director of Donor Relations and Scholarships and Endowment Administration, Ms. Rhonda Elmore. Jonathan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm looking forward to helping you to understand more of how to finance your education here at Morehouse and what resources that we have available for you here at the institution. I'm happy that you're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And Rhonda?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rhonda Elmore, Director of Donor Relations, Scholarships, and Endowment Administration. Looking forward to talking to you all about how to get scholarships and the steps to take to be eligible for them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rhonda. They have a wealth of knowledge that we're in store for you. So what are our sessions going to be about? What are we talking about tonight? We're going to get into that. So first up, I want to tell you, you are a part of one of the most amazing opportunities. You are a part of an institution that prides itself on leadership and service, where our mission is to develop men with disciplined minds who will lead lives of leadership and service. Morehouse College, for over 150 years, has set young men to become leaders, to be entrepreneurs, to be global citizens in a world where they're needed. And we are excited to be able to have you and others that find themselves to want to be a part of the Morehouse family, let alone to actually be an entry student into our college. We are a four-year private liberal arts institution offering an array of majors from business to communications, to psychology, to sociology. You name it, we have it. Our job is to set you out to do your very best. We help our students define themselves so that then they can redefine the world. So to get started on our topics covered in this session, we are going to talk about the financial aid process. We are going to talk about what is the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid. What are the holdups that you want to ensure you are ready for? And then in academic works, Ms. Rhonda is going to go into detail about these scholarships and how do you go about applying for these amazing awards. If you have questions during this session, we want to remind you that there will be a Q&A session. You might be wondering, how do I engage? How do I interact? That is your engagement. So if you have a question, it will store itself and we will be able to answer that question towards the end of this presentation. So first up, I would love to introduce again, Mr. Jonathan Jordan, our Director of Financial Aid at Morehouse College.
Good evening again. So we are going to get into what is financial aid and how is financial aid administered here at Morehouse College. So what is financial aid packaging? Or what is financial aid rather? So financial aid is money that helps students to pay for college and other educational expenses. And so that funding can come from the federal government, it can come from the state. Colleges, universities have their own institutional funding that they can provide, as well as private organizations and many, many more. So to apply for financial aid, you'll first have to complete the free application for federal student aid or FAFSA. And again, this application is free. I want you to know that no one should be asking you or encouraging you to pay for this service because this is a free service that is provided at studentaid.gov. So when we talk about financial aid packaging and what does a financial aid package consist of, it consists of grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. So in a perfect world, people typically don't want to take out loans, and I understand because the burden of paying loans back can be pretty gruesome and pretty taxing on an individual. However, loans do encompass or are included in the financial aid package. So grants, that's a form of financial aid that doesn't have to be paid back unless you withdraw from the school or you don't complete a service obligation, depending on the type of grant that you are receiving. Scholarships, and Rhonda will get into that more during her section or during her segment. Scholarships, that's a form of financial aid that's offered by nonprofit and private organizations. Most institutions like Morehouse have a system where we have internal scholarships that students can apply for. And so, again, institutional scholarships are available as well. And then loans are the funds that need to be paid back usually after you graduate. So there is a bonus where there's work study. If you are eligible, that's a paid part-time job that you usually get on campus. And so it's going to give you the experience and things that you need, help you to build your resume, help you build people skills and communication skills by working in an office on campus and also getting money and putting money into your pocket while you're here. So the 25-26 FAFSA became available on December the 1st. So if you have not already submitted your FAFSA, you can go ahead and do that again at studentaid.gov. It is a free site where you're able to input your income information, your parents' information, and they're asking you questions to determine your aid eligibility and what you're eligible for. And so for 25-26, they do have a student aid estimator. And so that estimator actually provides an estimate of how much federal student aid that you would be eligible to receive. And these estimates are based on the Student Aid Index or SAI, and that determines your aid eligibility. So I would definitely recommend that take a screenshot of this so that you can go out there if you haven't already done your FAFSA to kind of see what a financial aid package will look like for you going into the fall semester. So how to prepare for the 25-26 FAFSA. Again, you will need to create an account at studentaid.gov. With this, I would recommend that you also go ahead and have your parents to sign up for the FSA ID because you, as well as your parents, will all need an FSA ID in order to electronically sign the FAFSA. So when you're at studentaid.gov, I definitely recommend going ahead and creating an FSA ID if you have not done so already. At that process or during that process, you can also check out the documents that you would need to fill out for the FAFSA. So whether that's tax documents, W-2s, things of that nature that you would need because you're going to need that if you worked as the student, if you worked, making sure that you have all of your tax documents ready so that when it comes time to fill out that information, you have it readily available. In that process, you're also going to be answering questions that determine your dependency status and whether or not which parent or spouse will be required to contribute their information. And so those are questions, there's a set of questions on there that will determine your dependency status and will mark you as dependent or independent. And so one of the things that I want to preface is that um, there's no way to actually apply through the FAFSA as a dependent independent. There's not a dependent application or an independent application. There are a set number of questions on there that will actually determine what your dependency status is. If you're a dependent student, you can also see which parent is on the FAFSA or who's your parent on the FAFSA. There's a wizard out there that will be required as a contributor on your form. So some key changes that we want to pay attention to. Um, if we're going to go over, so some of those key changes will be, again, the contributors. That hasn't been something that has been required in the past, but this would be considered kind of a hang up if you are not too familiar with it, because with the contributors, contributors have to be invited by the student. So students have to invite a parent or a preparer so that they can input their information and, again, electronically sign the FAFSA. So this has proven to be a hang up for 24-25 as well as 25-26, because a lot of people don't understand that you do need to, the person that is invited, they actually have to accept that invitation and then go in and provide their information. Another thing that I mentioned, the FSA ID, that sometimes can be a holdup as well. So making sure that you create your FSA ID. Users without social security numbers can create an FSA ID and access the FAFSA. So if you don't have a social, you still can create your FSA ID. There are instructions that will help you move past that step. And then just identifying the roles that are on the FAFSA. So the student, which is the applicant, and then your parent and or approver. Once all of the required data has been provided and all sections have been signed, any role can submit the FAFSA. So either the student can submit, the parent, or the preparer can submit the FAFSA once all data has been signed and everything has been added to the application. Okay, contributors request to complete the FAFSA. And so we just kind of talked about that. So when you log into the FAFSA, this is the dependent student landing page. And so this is where you will go to actually start a form if you haven't already started it, or edit an existing form. And so again, you will log in. Everything that you do is pretty much tied to the FSA ID, which I mentioned earlier. And so when you get to this landing page, whether you're starting a new form or you're editing an existing form, the login credentials that you use for the FSA ID will also be used for completing a new or existing form for the FAFSA. And so once again, one of the new things that we discussed earlier is that dependent students have to invite parents to the FAFSA form. So again, the students are asked to enter personal information about your parents and to send them an invite to their FAFSA form. And so in this scenario that you see on your screen, this is the student inviting one of their parents. And so with that, making sure that you have all of their information correct. So I would recommend actually sitting with the parent as you're doing this to make sure that you have correct spelling, date of birth, and the social, so that everything can go through smoothly. Again, this can sometimes be a hangup, so definitely recommend having the parent there once you invite them so that they can go in and immediately accept that invitation. And then here are some steps to transfer tax information. And so, like I said earlier, making sure that you have all of your tax information available will save you a lot of time in this process, because it takes about, if you have everything together, about 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes to complete it. So step one is logging into the FAFSA, again, creating a new one, or finishing an existing one, and then granting consent to the direct data exchange. And that's how you're going to transfer your tax information from the IRS to the FAFSA. So your answers on the FAFSA will determine which contributors are need to be identified, and they will complete their own sections. So the student will complete their section, and the parent and/or preparer will create or complete their section using their own FSA ID. Contributors do have to consent and provide the required information electronically, and they are not financially responsible. I know that a lot of parents tend to be a little leery in some cases about providing their information, but please make sure that you ensure your parents, and parents, if you are here, that you are not financially responsible for the student's education in this case. For number four, the IRS will share the federal tax information with the FAFSA. It is secured through that direct data exchange, and they talk to one another. So the federal government or the FAFSA talks to the IRS, and that information is transmitted securely through their direct data exchange. So you want to check your contributors to make sure that they've finished all of their portions, again, so that everything goes through seamlessly whenever you are ready to submit. You're going to review your FAFSA submission and then make any corrections if necessary before you submit. So you've submitted your FAFSA, what's next? So typically, it takes about 3 to 5 business days for Morehouse to receive your financial aid application. And I want to go ahead and say that at this current moment, you should go ahead, do your FAFSA, and once our institution starts to pull in records, your record will already be here, and we will be able to process it and notify you and let you know if there is additional information that we need. So the Department of Education, there is a process called verification, and some students are selected for verification at random. So it is imperative that you submit those documents as soon as possible so that we can process your financial aid award. So verification would be another holdup, if you will, that would prevent your financial aid from being awarded to you through the Banner Rail portal. So if we are emailing you, I definitely recommend making sure that you are paying attention to your email whenever it comes from Student Financial Services or the Financial Aid Office, because it's more than likely we are asking and requesting something from you to submit that is going to hold up your financial aid. And so the quicker you do that, the better, and the more you don't have to worry about it, the least you have to worry about it. And so we use a third-party vendor to process verification in Septia. And so if you are selected for verification, you will actually receive an email from Inceptia letting you know to create an account and then provide the documents that are needed for verification. So don't ignore that. Make sure that you check your spam and or mark them as like as a contact in your emails. That way that they don't go into your junk emails. So Inceptia, if you are selected for verification, you will receive communication from them. All right, so now we're going to talk about your loan options, the various loan options. So there are 3 types of federal loans that a student can take. And with that, those loans are made available through the FAFSA. So it's not anything that you have to go out and apply for. Students that meet the criteria and that have completed a FAFSA are automatically eligible for these, but there are some stipulations that you have to go through before they are dispersed to your account. And so again, these have to be repaid and they're repaid through interest. So you have your subsidized loan, which is a need-based loan. This loan is not accruing interest as long as you are enrolled at the institution at least half time. The unsubsidized loan is a non-need-based loan that is accruing interest from the date that it is dispersed to the account. Then you have your Parent Plus loan. This is an option for parents to take out this loan. This particular loan, and I'm correcting myself, this particular loan is a separate application, but it is done at studentaid.gov. And this application or this loan allows the parent to take out a loan on behalf of your dependent student if the student does not have enough financial aid on their own to cover their outstanding balance for the year. And so parents have the option to apply for this loan. It is a credit-based loan, and you actually get a decision immediately. So you'll fill out the application, and if you're either approved or denied, it will let you know immediately. And then the last option, which I like to say is like the very last option, if there's nothing else that you can take out, the private education loans. And so private education loans are through a private lender, so like through banks like Sallie Mae, Discover, or SoFi. And then this is also a credit-based loan. And so students can go out, research the terms and conditions that are made available through each lender to determine which loan is going to be the best fit or the best option for you. And so those are the 4. And again, like I mentioned earlier, loans are included in the financial aid package. So I know a lot of people think that, oh, well, I don't qualify for a loan. I don't qualify for financial aid because I didn't get grants. But loans do fall under that umbrella, and loans are considered financial aid. And here you can actually just take a screenshot of this. This kind of gives you an overview of what the borrowing limits are based on your dependency status and based on your classification. So dependent students, freshman through senior, have their limits, which is the total limit for the total aggregate limit is 31,000 for a dependent student. And then for an independent student is 57,500. And so the amounts that you see here listed for a freshman, that's what you can get for the year. And so the examples that you see here, these are the amounts that a student will qualify for per year, up to 31,000 for a dependent student and 57,500 for an independent student. And so we've already talked about the Parent Plus loan. And so parents, one thing that I did not say is that if a parent is denied for the Parent Plus loan, the students do have the option to qualify for additional unsubsidized loans. And so when parents apply for that, again, you're going to apply at studentaid.gov. It has to be a biological or adoptive parent, and it's based on a non-adverse credit history. And so, like I said, once you're applying for this loan, it will let you know immediately if you are approved or denied. And all of these forms are electronically forwarded to the college. So you don't necessarily have to let us know that you've applied. We do have a team of individuals who check that daily to bring in any approved and or denied plus loans so that we can award students accordingly. So we've talked about all of the types of financial aid, grants, scholarships, loans, but now we're going to talk about satisfactory academic progress. And satisfactory academic progress, or SAP, is what is mandated by the Department of Education for a student to continue to receive their financial aid. So the minimum GPA, or the GPA range, is a 1.8 to a 2.0, and that is dependent on your year in college. So freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. PACE is maintaining a completion of at least 67%. So this just means that out of the hours that you attempt, you have to complete and pass 67% of those hours. So if you are a student taking 15 credit hours, you have to pass at least 9 of those credit hours in order to be meeting PACE. And then maximum time frame is just is letting you know that undergraduates have a maximum total of 180 attempted credit hours. And so I don't think that any of you will have that issue, hopefully in and out and for. And so with that, hopefully you won't reach that. But in some cases, we do have students that get up to 180 attempted hours, and the typical undergraduate degree is 120 hours. And so when you get to 180 hours and you still don't have a degree that is 120 hours, the federal government, we're kind of looking at you like, hey, what are you doing? And so we have to hold you accountable and make sure that you are staying on track to receive your undergraduate degree. And so that those are the top 3 things that satisfactory academic progress look at. We're looking at GPA, we're looking at PACE, and we're looking at the maximum time frame. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda to talk about academic works.
Hello and good evening again, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you about Academic Works, which is our online scholarship management system. So I already told you what it is, right? It's our online scholarship management system. It's fully cloud-based. Pretty much what that means is you can apply anywhere and at any time. So you can be in the car, you can be at Starbucks, at home, anywhere. It's 24/7. And also it helps facilitate our renewal process. So some of our scholarships, which I'll go into later on, are renewable as long as you maintain the requirements that the donor has set forth. You will get an email that says, hey, it's time to renew your scholarship. You have to submit community service hours. As Michael talked about in the beginning, Morehouse men or future men of Morehouse are leaders and they give back to their community. So we require that you complete community service as a student here at Morehouse, but you would upload your community service hours as long as you maintain that GPA and you've done everything you needed to do. Your scholarship will renew from year to year. So how do you access Academic Works? There are two different ways you can access it. So all students who've been admitted to Morehouse, you receive login credentials and email, a Morehouse email. You can log in through our Morehouse portal and you'll click on Academic Works. There's an application you just click on, or like I said, you can log in at morehouse.academicworks.com. And currently, our scholarship portal is actually open now. It opened in December of 2024. It will close in April of 2025. So those students who've been admitted, feel free to log in after this presentation if you haven't done so and apply for some scholarships. But what are some benefits of applying for scholarships at Morehouse College? Well, it's free money. You don't have to pay it back. And also, you only complete one general application. So you're not submitting 5 or 6 different essays for different scholarships. You submit one general application. There is an essay portion to it. And then you're, based on your responses and information that's imported from Banner, you are matched to scholarships just based off what you submitted to us, to the college. Um, it is based on some scholarships are based on financial need and some are merit-based. So if you don't see a lot of matches, it's probably because if you did the FAFSA, it's based off of that income that your parents submitted on their taxes. So it's not that you're not eligible academically, it's probably you're not eligible financially. Also, you will see a submitted status on the application once you do hit submit. You can always go back in and update if you want to, but usually just hit submit once and you'll see that the application has been submitted. It'll let you know that. Also, students who've been accepted for a scholarship, you'll receive an email notification automatically that you qualified or you received the scholarship. It'll tell you how much and the next steps. You'll submit post-acceptance questions. And this is information that I need because I also report to the donors who gave money for these scholarships. So they want to know who you are, why you came to Morehouse, how the scholarship has impacted you, and you'll write a thank you letter to the donor as well. So you can do all of that through Academic Works. So a little bit more information about our institutional scholarships. Like we said, all newly admitted students and current students are able to log in to Academic Works and apply for scholarships. As you can see right there on the right-hand side, if you go through the Morehouse portal, you click on Academic Works. That's what that application looks like in the portal. And like I said, it also has the web address, so you can screenshot this also if you want to know the location of how to access Academic Works. But like I said, to be eligible for scholarships, the donor created different criteria, so every scholarship is different. But they told us, what specific GPA they want the students to have, a certain major. Some even tell us what geographical location they want students to be from. But as long as you meet those criteria, you meet the GPA every year, you do the community service, you should, if your scholarship is renewable, you can get it every single year. So as Jonathan mentioned earlier, everyone has to complete a FAFSA to receive a scholarship here at Morehouse College. Also, if you are verified or selected for verification through Acceptia, you do have to submit those documents as well. You do have to maintain a certain GPA. Most scholarships are 3.0 GPA or higher. So I know you all can do it because you've had that coming into Morehouse in high school. Some scholarships have 50 hours of community service, some have 10 hours of community service. Depends on if it's a full ride or if it's a partial scholarship, and I'll go into more detail about that later. And then also any other criteria that the donor has set up. And then we offer general scholarships, like I said, to all students. And then some scholarships are restricted for a certain major or a certain field of study. So here I'm just going to talk about some different examples of scholarships that we do offer. So those of you who applied early decision, early action, you have a great chance of getting the Dr. Michael L. Lomax Scholarship, the Morgan Stanley Scholarship, or Yardi. Dr. Michael Lomax is a full ride scholarship. We currently have 80 students, 84, who have this scholarship. They will keep the scholarship until they graduate as long as they meet the criteria of 3.0, 50 hours of community service. because they have a full ride, right? So they don't have to work. They're not stressed about finances. So they can give back. And it's 50 hours from the time they arrive in August until March of the next year, so spring semester. So they have, several months to get this done. Um, what else? That's pretty, so we'll um, award 20 new students coming in the fall. 10 will be need-based, 10 will be merit-based. Oprah Winfrey Scholarship, this is by Dr. Jan Adams. She's the coordinator for this scholarship, but it's open to freshmen. And then she will reserve like 5 or 7 scholarships for continuing students at Morehouse College. This is a need-based scholarship, and it's $25,000. And they do a lot with this program. They go abroad to Africa. They meet every week. They do study table. They do book clubs and things like that. They do community service together. So this program here, she requires a lot, but you learn a lot as well too, and you gain a lot. The Morgan Stanley Scholarship Program, we currently have 19 students. We bring in 5 new students every year. I love the Morgan Stanley partnership because they are really engaged with our students. This is a full ride. It is need-based, but Morgan Stanley invites us to New York. They also have students at Spelman and Howard University, so we get to interact with those students as well. And then they have, we meet with the CEO, we meet with their diversity, equity person, and then they usually have a panel of all the HBCU scholars who work, or I should say alumni, who work for Morgan Stanley. So the students have the opportunity to learn about the company and people's experience working in a corporate company. And they also are required to do 50 hours of community service and maintain a 3.0 GPA. The Yardy Scholarship is a pretty new one. That's why there's only 5 students. We had, I believe, 1 scholar the first year, and then they added 2 last year, and then 2 more will be eligible this year for freshmen. And it's a $30,000 scholarship. And Yardy is engaged as well, too. They come on the campus. They've taken the students out to dinner. We've met the students at Georgia State and Spelman who have this scholarship as well, too. And then the last one is Coca-Cola First Generation. As you can tell, this is a first generation scholarship for students whose parents do not have a college education. It is need-based, and the 9 students who are currently enrolled are the same cohort that we've had. I think this will be their senior year coming up next year. So we haven't added any new students to Coca-Cola. Hopefully they'll give us some more funding and we can add some more students to this program. And Coca-Cola is a $25,000 scholarship. And just a little bit more about Academic Works. Like I said, you submit a general application and you're either automatically matched to scholarships based on your responses and the information imported from Banner. Also, apply to means you'll get a notification in Academic Works that says, hey, we recommend this scholarship as well. So this means you match to the scholarship, but the donor wants you to either submit a letter of recommendation from a faculty person or someone from your high school, or they may want you to answer some additional essay questions. And matching to scholarships does that mean you get the scholarship? It just means you match to that specific one. So some students may match to 20, 30 scholarships. Another student may only match to 5. Like I said, it just depends on your responses and what the criteria the donors created for their different scholarships. And this just kind of shows you what it looks like once you submit an application. So the screenshot on the left shows that a student submitted a general application. It also tells me that they submitted some letters of recommendations, and also tells me that they had, I believe, 3 scholarships that were applied to. So they had to submit some additional information. So those are those recommended opportunities I was telling you about. And at the bottom, it just kind of shows those are the scholarships that they match to. One is a renewal that they already had that they'll keep from year to year, as long as they meet the criteria. And then the other 3 are just ones that they match to. And then a screenshot on the right, this is just the general application that has been submitted by a student. So it tells you application has been submitted. And you can always go back in and look over your application like I said, you can make updates if you need to as well. So the application section of the scholarship portal or the questions, they pretty much read like a resume. So they ask you if you're a first generation student, your religious preference, what activities, extracurricular activities you've been involved in, um, if you are an athlete, if you're a part of a Greek letter organization, if you're a legacy. It pretty much reads like a resume. And like I said, the reason we ask a lot of these questions is because there's criteria on a scholarship. It could be one, it could be several. But these are the reasons why we ask these questions. So B is detailed. Some are just check a box, and some you can add responses to. Also, you're going to grant permission for Morehouse to import your information from Banner so that you submit it from that Common App. And then also, like I said, you can update this, especially in the spring for the next year, because some scholarships are renewable, so you don't have to reapply. But you say if you got a partial scholarship, like a $25,000 one or a $10,000 scholarship, you can apply for other scholarships the next year and hopefully get more money. So I would update this every spring. If you join some clubs at Morehouse, update that information as well too. And this is just an example. I took a screenshot of some of the questions off of Academic Works. So I won't go through all of these, but this just kind of gives you an idea. But like I said, it kind of goes over like, are you first generation college student? Let's see what else. Your ethnicity. Some scholarships we have, I know we're all male, historically Black college, but we have other students here as well. And like I said, there's some scholarships that state ethnicity, so that's why that question is asked here. You can go into the next slide. And these are some additional questions. If you're a veteran, we do have some scholarships for dependents of veterans. We have, was it ROJ, I think JR, I forgot the proper name, but it's like Navy ROTC. So we have that here on campus as well. So there are some scholarships for that, for students who are involved with that as well.
JROTC.
Thank you, Michael.
I got you, Rhonda. We right here.
Let's see. What else? If your parent is a Mason, there's a scholarship for, students whose parents are a Mason. If you play an instrument, if you performing arts, theater, we do have scholarships for that as well too. So there's reasons why we have some of these questions that we ask. And at the end, what you do is just hit finish and submit, and your application is submitted, and I can see your responses. Or you can click save and keep editing. So if you haven't finished the application, maybe you had to go eat dinner or go to work, you can always save it and come back and finish the application. And then you're going to hit finish and submit. At the end, you're going to verify that everything is true and accurate, and that you're going to be a full-time student. To get the scholarship, you're going to sign and date it. And like I said, hit finish and submit. So if you are fortunate enough to get a scholarship, like I said, you'll get an email notification that says, hey, you received the Dr. Michael Lomax Scholarship. You don't have to do anything else. It's already accepted, but it will ask you to submit the post-acceptance questions, which I talked about earlier. And that's information I'll need to populate into the annual donor report that I send to the donor that tells them who you are, your major, how much money you receive, what the hometown, where you're from. And I also give them how much is in their scholarship, like how much was given out, what is their balance, and things like that. We make it pretty. And I do take headshots of all scholarship students. So I meet with you all in the fall. We take your headshots, and that is the pictures that I will use for that donor report. One thing I want to add before we wrap this up, we do have scholarships that are external to Morehouse College on the portal. So when you log in, it'll say opportunities at the top, and there's a drop down. It'll say hours and externals. I do get scholarship information from outside organizations, businesses, and they tell me, hey, Rhonda, can you post this for your students at Morehouse. So I post that information there. It just pretty much takes you to their website, gives you information about the scholarship, their criteria, and you apply through their website. I have nothing to do with those external scholarships. I am supplying information. So, but I try to help as many students as I can. I can't help everyone, but here is the contact information. So if you need to reach Jonathan in the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, they're on the first floor of Gloucester Hall. I'm an institutional advancement, so I'm not financial aid. I just administer the academic work scholarship portal. But I'm an institutional advancement, which is on the third floor of Gloucester Hall. And then Mr. Gum is in the Office of Admissions, housed at the Welcome Center. And
And
thank you. That's all that I have.
thank you, Rhonda. And I just wanted to add, for those of you who may be trying to scan the QR code, we are closed for the day. So if you want to kind of just take a picture of this or take a screenshot of this so that you can use it for the future during our regular business hours, you can do that. But we are closed right now if you try to scan to schedule an appointment.
All right. Man, a wealth of knowledge. You all are definitely experts in this. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Jonathan. The floor is open. This is our Q&A session, and we have time to get to your questions. We do have our Vice President of Student Accounts and Financial Services who is answering questions in the chat. So we do want to make sure that we are getting to those as well. So there's a couple questions on the floor that we want to have answered. So, Ron, I'm going to really kind of throw the football your direction. Have students been selected for the Michael Scholarship yet? They want to know about the Lomax Scholarship. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Rhonda. We got you.
Thank you, Michael. So no, we have not. So if you applied early action, early decision, definitely early decision, we are making that decision between January 18th and January 26th. So coming up within the next week or so, we will be selecting those students. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. And just as a sidebar, we know not every student is going to be a recipient of that scholarship. So I'm going to actually, throw the football to Director Jordan over here of financial aid. You talked about the loans. Can you kind of talk a little bit about some of those grant opportunities? Because not everybody's going to get a funded scholarship.
Absolutely, yes. So some of the grants that we have, well, obviously, federal Pell Grant is going to be something that is an entitlement, and so that's based on the income information that a family inputs on the FAFSA that is determined by that information. There are various state grants through the state of Georgia for Georgia residents. One thing that I definitely recommend is checking out to see if your state, 'cause it's kind of slim, but checking out to see if your state has some type of grant funding that would allow you, if you are an out-of-state student, to transfer and use that money here at Morehouse. The only one that I can think of right now is from California, and that's the Chafee grant. But again, that transfer that can be transferred to participating institutions. Um, and there are institutional funds that we have available. However, there are stipulations tied to that funding. And so when students typically receive that funding, it is a one-time award. It's not something that would be awarded continuously. It's a one-time award, and you would know if you received that funding because you would get a nice email from me explaining what that funding is and explaining what the stipulations are behind that.
So that word, the key word there is renewable. It's not
Correct. They
necessarily renewable.
non-renewable.
Uh,
Right.
that's that's key. That's key because a lot of the scholarships that Rhonda handles are renewable, but there are definitely some that you could get one-time funding for.
Mhm.
Awesome,
Correct.
awesome, awesome.
Correct.
So, Mr. Jordan, we're going to stay with you, Director Jordan. when are the scholarship awards communicated to incoming freshmen? So I know that's kind of our three offices, if you think about it, because there's communications through the OSMCA, Office of Strategic Marketing, Communications and Admissions Division. But there's also communications that will go out from Rhonda's angle, also, from your angle to Jonathan. So, can we kind of talk about that communications, how that works? I know I can start and then kind of pick it up. So I know typically what happens if students are able to receive scholarships from us, we have what is called the Morehouse College Academic Award. This is the scholarship award that we were able to give out through your merit, through your ability to do well in the classroom, where we did a holistic review. That top scholarship dollar this year tend to be at the $15,000 mark. I know that, it kind of trickles down from that depending on your merit. But I know then that's sort of picked up through Rhonda's office and then picked up through Jonathan's office. So quickly, Rhonda, can you go to your office communications, if you will?
Mhm. So as I stated earlier, in academic works, if you are awarded a scholarship like Dr. Michael Lomax or Morgan Stanley, you're going to get email notification. It's going to go to your Morehouse email. So definitely check that. But it will tell you, hey, you got this scholarship and this is the amount that you are awarded. Also, I think Paula had sent a message. The scholarship portal, even though it opened in December and closes in April officially, it will close on Friday, January 17th. So if you have not applied, first time freshman coming in, please apply by Friday to be considered for those full ride scholarships. It will open back up after we review for the early decision students. I believe January 27th. It'll open back up, and then you can still apply and be considered for other scholarships as well.
Awesome. And then Jonathan.
And then just to piggyback off of that, as I mentioned during my presentation, just making sure that you are staying on top of your emails, because once there is an award offer out there from the financial aid office, we will communicate that to your Morehouse email. We will let you know that you can log into your banner web so that you can see your financial aid offer. We do not do snail mail, so you won't receive anything in the mail, but it will be electronic through your banner web.
Awesome. Fantastic. And that is perfect from there. So the next question is, can students apply for scholarships via the portal before they accept their offer letter? So the answer to that is yes, there are scholarships that come prior to. What we tend to do, though, is we like the students that have been admitted. Those students that have been admitted typically get a little bit more. There's also another caveat there. We like students that have deposited. I'll say it again.
Mhm.
We love students who have deposited because we want you and you want us. And that tells us that you're committed. The deposit is that confirmation. And speaking of deposit, early decision deadline for deposits is tomorrow. So if you are an ED
Mhm.
student, let's not play around with that. We know Morehouse is for you. Heck, you filled out the application saying it was for you, so we want it to be for you. And you never know, you might be in the running of one of those amazing Lomax scholarships. So I think that kind of answers that question there. But Ron, I want to throw this one to you. How early can, oh no, this is Jonathan. How early can students apply for scholarships entering the fall 2026 scholarship portal? So how early can a student that will be entering fall 2026 apply for scholarships?
Now.
Gotcha.
Now because because the portal closes on Friday. And so like if you have not already been into academic works and have been applying for those scholarships, you need to start now. You need to start now. You need to submit your application, fill out that general application to see what opportunities you're matched with and go from there. And don't stop there. One thing that I wanted to say is that one of the most underutilized resources are resources within your community. So wherever you are from, I
Mhm.
definitely recommend checking out some of the local, I mean, like Chamber of Commerce or like NAACP or places like that in your local chapters, because that money goes unfunded every year because people either don't know to apply or they just don't apply. And so that's money sitting out there. You probably will be the only person in some cases. the only person to apply, and so they're going to give it to you by default. So definitely checking out those resources within your community.
Absolutely. And I know we have a lot of lingo going around here, from banner web to portal, this portal. So let's kind of define that. We're being asked to define that a little bit. So Rhonda, if you can just kind of give us what is banner web to your notion, and then Jonathan, if you can assist, and then those scholarship portals that we're discussing. So first, banner web.
Um, for my understanding, because I don't use it a lot as much as Michael and Jonathan do, but it's a system that Morehouse uses, and every institution has their own system that they use. I've used PeopleSoft at a community college that I worked at prior to Morehouse, but it's just the system that they use that holds all of your information. So your schedules, your academic records, your applications, and things like that. Financial aid information.
Yes. So Banner Web, that's where, for financial aid purposes, is where you will find your financial aid award letter. It'll also house the stipulations for some of the scholarships that you have. It'll um, what else does Bannerweb have for financial aid? It'll give you your SAP status. It'll let you know if you are meeting satisfactory academic progress. There's messages in there that we may put in there. So it's kind of like, I like to say that it's kind of like a social media, but for school, if you will, so
Mhm.
that you can kind of scroll through and kind of see, get the latest information, be in the know about your particular account. And so, and then as Rhonda mentioned, there's other things in Bannerweb like your class schedule, how to pay your bill. I believe you can go to Tiger Pay in there to pay your bill, what you owe to the institution. So you once you are admitted to the university and you have to the college and you have access to that, I definitely recommend just kind of, you know, skimming around and just kind of
Mhm.
exploring.
Yeah, because you can also see how you're progressing as far as your major or your degree. So you can see what classes you still need to fulfill or what you've taken and things like that as well.
Yeah. And that registration component is very important too.
Hmm.
You mentioned. Also, Bannerweb will also list if you have any holds on your account. So that's very important that you're visiting Bannerweb. It's an app through your My Portal that you'll be able to click on. My Portal being the very first link into Morehouse College. It is the portal that opens that has all these apps that allow you to navigate not only your email for the first time, your morehouse.edu email, but Bannerweb. It'll be a portal on there for ways to get resumes, all these kinds of opportunities to kind of connect you to Morehouse College. And so Bannerweb is the most frequent, as that's the one to kind of really find out what is your status, right? Where do you lie in terms of registration? Where do you lie in terms of financial aid? Where do you lie in terms of your scholarships? Are you academically sound? That kind of thing. So be affiliated with Bannerweb. Definitely important, and that's a good segue into work study. So the question is, can you speak on work study at Morehouse College? So how does work study?
Yeah, so there used to be a question on the FAFSA that asked a student if they were eligible for work study. That question is no longer on the FAFSA, and so Morehouse has created an internal form, if you will, through Bannerweb again, where all things Bannerweb. It has created a uh, it's like a little questionnaire, and I think there's three questions on there. And one of those questions is, are you interested in work study? And so you're going to either say yes or you're going to say no, depending on how you answer, and if you have the need or if you qualify for work study. You can come into our office or email us to let us know that you're interested in work study, and we will get you awarded if we can do that. And then it'll be your responsibility to go out and find a job on campus, find someone who's hiring on campus. I believe there's, what is it called? People admin. That's another, we have all of these portals and all of these things. But once you have access to my portal, That's where everything is. It houses all of those different things that you're hearing. Academic Works, Bannerweb, my portal houses that. Well, another one for work study to apply for a job is People Admin, and you'll go in and apply for an on-campus job that way. Go through the process, and then you can start working and getting paid biweekly.
And we have three students that are actually going to be working in the Office of Admissions. So kudos to those
Yes.
guys.
And one thing I do want to say also is that so when you log in, so say for instance, if you're awarded work study, we award you work study, you're gonna see that on your banner web as financial aid because it is a form of financial aid. But just know that that money is not going to disperse to your account to satisfy a balance. Okay. I want you to know that. So you're going to see it on there. It's going to be listed on there. Whatever dollar amount, we're going to say $3,000 for the sake of an amount. $3,000 is not going to disperse to your account to cover a balance that you owe to the institution. You actually have to get a job and you actually have to work and earn those dollars. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear on that. You actually have to work and earn those dollars. That's what you can earn up to. So I just wanted to clear the air with that in work study.
No, that's
I'll
great.
say, as I say, the benefit of that, I was a work study student. They work around your student schedule, and it's a job on campus. You don't have to worry about, well, how am I going to get there? So take advantage of it. Monday through Friday, between 9 and 5, and you can study if you're not busy in that office. So yeah, and we hire in our office as well too for work study students.
Absolutely. And look, you want to be in one of our offices, I tell you that. If students receive awards in excess, right, in excess of tuition and fees, what happens to the remaining funds? So if they receive external scholarships or if they're getting maybe some scholarships that are coming in, what would actually happen if they had scholarships that might have been already applicable on their record? How does that work?
So those outside scholarships, they will be noted on the account because we do have to note them and we do have to list them and resource them on the account. But if it's in excess of your tuition and fees, the outstanding balance owed to the institution has been paid, then that will generate a credit balance. And with that credit balance is it's essentially a refund, and the refund will be issued to you, the student, depending on how those funds work. It'll be issued in the form of a refund. And so that refund is to be used for educational expenses, whatever you deem educational expenses, uh, books, computers, transportation, gas to and from school, whatever the case may be. That refund is used for that reason. And so at Morehouse, we issue refunds every 2 weeks after the initial disbursement. And so we typically, I want to say we disperse 2 weeks after classes start, and then after the ad drop period. So, after ad drop, we disperse aid, and then refunds will commence 2 weeks after that through the end of the term.
The question becomes, does everybody get a refund?
Everybody does not.
You know,
Everybody does not get a refund. Everybody's situation is not the same. Everybody does not have the same financial aid. I know people like to say, oh, my friend is taking this amount of hours and they have this X, Y, and Z, but everyone's situation is not the same. And so you cannot base your claims off of a friend. Okay. So that's why it's very important that you are paying attention to your Tiger Pay to see what your balance is, paying attention to your banner web to see what financial aid you have available to you to determine if you qualify for a refund or not.
yeah, very good. And so then the next question I have, which I can answer is, do you have to pay the enrollment fee to access the Morehouse email account? Upon your application, as soon as you apply, and the status is that then you are an admitted student, you actually have access at that point to your My Portal. Your My Portal is somewhat restricted, however, because even though you're an admitted student, you're not technically admitted amongst the college. So we go through this process of what is called accepted and accepted confirmed. An accepted confirmed student is a student that typically has paid their enrollment deposit. And at that point, Morehouse, meaning Rhonda's office, Jonathan's office, and others begin to see you as not just an accepted student, but an enrolled student. And so then those other perks come in. So if you only paid, if you only did and was accepted, that doesn't guarantee automatically that you're going to have the full access into your My Portal. So in order to get the full access to your My Portal, you would need to pay the acceptance fee. So I know that kind of answers that a little bit. As a senior right now, is there any possibility to receive scholarships for the spring 2025 semester? I have 14 credits remaining to graduate, but I need financial assistance. That's a little bit of both of y'all. So yeah.
So this sounds like a current student.
It sounds like a current student. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So he might have hopped on, which we're gonna do what we can to support you. But I mean, students do find themselves in different situations and
Mhm.
and different things that going on. For it to be, spring 2025. I'll just repeat the question one more time. As a senior right now, is there any possibility to receive scholarships for the spring 2025 semester? I have 14 credits remaining to graduate, but I need financial assistance. So I can definitely start it. I want to tell you the real answer, young sir, is that typically money is given from fall to fall. Typically in the spring term, the funds that we have allocated by the college would already been dispersed. So there's little money available for spring. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but that money is definitely, restricted as we get more donor support from Rhonda's angle and as we get more financial aid that might come in. But typically, you'll find, at least from what I know, fall to fall really being when students are awarded scholarship dollars. But you all can feel free to jump in.
I mean, you hit it right on the head. When we award scholarships, we are awarding for the year. So it's their fall spring. We don't really have any one-off scholarships that are awarded for spring only. One thing that you can do if you are a current student, come and visit us at Gloucester and come and talk to someone that is over here so that we can take a look at your account and see if there are any resources that we have available where we can help you as a graduating senior.
Yeah. And I know Rhonda would hit on and Jonathan, we all would echo the importance of timeliness on this and the focus of not just sort of letting it happen. Not to say you did that, but making sure that you're finding ways to find financial scholarships as you kind of continue the process and to look for external scholarships as well.
Mhm.
Jonathan, you hit that. Rhonda, you talked about it too. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And as a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, we have fraternity-based scholarships that support students each year. My local chapter here in the Conyers Covington area gave out about $1,500 to the 16 seniors that we had last year that we were able to support them in scholarship dollars. That was an external scholarship, had nothing to do with Morehouse, but that's 16 students that are getting additional scholarship dollars to support their education. So definitely, as Jonathan mentioned, Rhonda, you mentioned this, it's important, that if you're looking at the Masonic lodges, the Prince Hall opportunities, that you're looking at, Knights of Pythagoras, that their youth programs, to get involved, to get acclimated, because that's what stands out. And in academic works, as Rhonda mentioned, that ability to brag on yourself in that moment, it allows for us to be able to see what scholarships you might potentially match with. Rhonda, can you talk a little bit about the Picard scholarship a little bit? I thought that was a really good one because it's very
Uh,
special in that endowment component.
which one?
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's go with the one that's 20,000, but you have to be from like the Ohio area, LaGrange, Georgia area.
Is that
Um,
the
William
look?
Picard.
He's put me on the spot now. Is that
Yeah.
the Bill? Wait,
No, the
does
William
Justin Picard or Cheryl
Johnson.
Harvey? That
Justin
okay?
Picard. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
And
have to
I just
look
know it as
up.
the Picard. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have to look that up because I don't know all of these off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have questions, just send me an email. But I was
Yeah.
gonna do add on to something that Michael said. On Academic Works, there is an essay
Yeah.
for all students to complete. that is your opportunity to brag about yourself. Because I know you all are great students, right? Academically. But what sets you apart from everyone else? So tell me about your academic or your extracurricular activities, your
Yeah.
community service. What are you doing in your community? What leadership skills do you have? Are you involved in clubs? And are you the president, a member, or you created a group or something? But this is your opportunity to talk about you and brag about you. I am not the only person who looks at your applications. There's people from financial aid, from admissions office, and we also utilize faculty and staff around campus. So we don't know you. We just see this essay and your responses to the questions in academic works, and we give you a score based off a rubric. So shine, 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 brag. We love it.
Listen, please brag on you, right? And so hopefully that helps our senior here, Director Jonathan said, come by the office. We're big on that. We will communicate
Mhm.
with you, but we're very transparent, right? And if we don't have it, we just don't have it. So we ask that you work with us as we help work with you. But the students that find external scholarships, those are the students that we kind of can navigate better with. Go ahead.
Right. And I just wanted to add, if that is a current student, before you come, because Michael just mentioned that, that we are transparent and we will tell you what the reality is. We hope that you know that you have done everything that you can possibly do
Mhm. Mhm.
in
Yeah.
terms of helping to finance your education because um, what I've seen is a lot of students solely rely on Morehouse to pay for a Morehouse education, and that is not how that works. So
Yeah.
you definitely have to have some skin in the game, and what that means is that we have institutional funding, but that funding is used for students that have exhausted every last resource that they have. So they've taken out the loans. Their parents have applied for Parent Plus loans and or applied for the loans and were denied, and they literally have nothing else. And so when talking about transparency, we are going to look at that, and that is going to be a determining factor on how much we can help.
Yeah. And I would just add that, that and Jonathan, you hit the nail on the head. Um, you know, the focus that we try to get students that are applying to the college that are even thinking about coming to Morehouse is that you have to be real about your opportunity. That if
Mhm.
accepted, not everybody's going to get awarded a scholarship. Not everybody is going to get the top dollars. So it has to be some real conversation in the family. It just does. And part of that conversation also needs to be that if you want to make Morehouse home, you have to take it serious from your standpoint. So you heard Jonathan talk about earlier how important it is that, yes, parents, you're involved in this process, but we don't need you to be the helicopter parent. We need you to be the enforcer. So that's us talking to the student, helping the student. We want you a part of the process, but it's about building that rapport as we kind of work together. And so that's a big component. And I would also mention how important it is that as you look for the scholarship dollars, as you look for the support, be mindful, right? That there's other students that are in your same category, in your same boat.
Mhm.
And so, sometimes those students might get those funds. Well, you want to have money in your back pocket. That's what I went by as a student at Morehouse, going through Morehouse, is that I didn't just rely on the staff to do it for me. I shined as much as I could, but a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So I did visit the offices. I said, hello, my name is, I am a work study student in this office and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. And those relationships matter just as well. So, you want to build the rapport, you want to, do the connections you need to make, but you also want to come, as Jonathan said, with skin in the game. Like, you need to
Mhm.
make it a real option. And to know what this means that, you've done all that you possibly could. And it has to be some real conversation in the family household.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just want to add to what Michael said, interact with your faculty, get to know them. I've had students come in my office and they're like, Miss Ron, I need some money. I'm like, I can't help you. But you know what? They still came in every week, once a month. I got to know them. And when a scholarship came up, I was like, I know who matches that scholarship because I've
Hmm.
talked to them and I know their background. And guess what? I awarded that person some money. So it just helped that he came in, he talked to me, we got to know each other. And when something came up, I was like, I got a great person in mind who met the criteria for that scholarship.
Awesome. And that's those connections we're talking about, which brings me up
Mhm.
to the next one. When are notices going out for early admission decision students? So all of our early decision students, they have had to apply by November the 1st, and we notified them on December the 5th. That's if you had a completed application at the time of our deadline. You can still have an early decision application out there that might be completed, but due to not adhering to the deadline, you're now going to roll into our early action consideration. So if you are an ED student that maybe didn't have something completed at the time, or maybe you did and we just missed it, please email our office, contact us, and we have a recruiter designated specifically for you that's going to follow up with you to ensure that we reviewed your application appropriately. We do adhere to our deadlines. Early decision is a very serious component. So, we want you to definitely be considered for that if you did meet our threshold in time. And we will get those other decisions for early action that will drop on January the 30th. For those who applied EA, early action, you will be notified January 30th. Quickly, here's a question for you, Rhonda. If a student doesn't meet the SAT requirement for the Lomax scholarship, would they still be considered?
Right now, we are actually waiving ACT, SAT scores. So that is not part of the consideration for scholarships right now, until I hear further notice from the Office of Admissions. But right now, we're not looking at SAT or ACT scores.
Yeah. And that's linear, obviously, to what we do in our admissions process currently, where we encourage students that have taken SAT or ACT to apply, but it's not a necessary component to the application process at this time. We ask students to apply with their application, letters of recommendation, and an official transcript. And then from there, we do a holistic review to determine if you're eligible to be admitted to the college from there. And also know, just so that you all know and aware, we offer scholarships upon review of your application. So that MCOT scholarship or the Morehouse College Academic Award, if you were accepted, it would be notified or indicated within your acceptance letter. All these other additional scholarships that we're talking about from the Lomax and Morgan Stanley and those, what we call funded scholarships, that will come out at another date or a later date. And some of the one-time funding that you heard from Jonathan Jordan, Director of Financial Aid, mentioned that will come out at a later date. I will say this, scholarships might not be stackable. So, Rhonda, can you talk a little bit about that? I know that that's something that students think, oh, I've gotten $12,000 here, and Jonathan told me,
Um,
Jonathan Jordan
so if
told me
you get,
a refund.
say,
So,
Lomax or Morgan Stanley, which are full rides, those are the only scholarships you can get because it's a full ride. It's up to your cost of attendance at Morehouse, so we can't give you anything over that. But other scholarships like Oprah's 25,000, you can get additional scholarships that will go up to your cost of attendance at Morehouse, which Jonathan, I believe, was like 52,000 and some change.
right.
52,545.
Thank
There
you.
it is.
So
Y'all
you
heard
can't get
that?
more than one scholarship, but we do try and spread the love. So if we see one student has $30,000 or $40,000, and another student who's just as qualified has like 10,000 or no money. More than likely, I'm going to give it to the student who has less money, right? So I do try and spread it around and give as many people money as possible.
And then, Jonathan, this one is for you. Are scholarships or grants limited to certain classification of students? Is open to freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors?
Scholarships and grants, are they limited to classification? No. Well, I mean, some of them, it just, you have to read the criteria for the
Mhm,
scholarships. So
mhm.
say for instance, some of the one-time funding that we may give out, it's for juniors and seniors only. So it just depends um, on what the fund is. But for the grants, most of them just require that you're in full-time hours, which is 12 credit hours or more. Um, but they are not classification specific.
Very important to know, y'all. Very important to know. You talk about some of this funding, and Rhonda, I know we've been in conversations where a student thought that they had a scholarship, and then that scholarship might have been depleted. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that? Because not every year the money comes in the same way from those donors?
Mhm. So our scholarships are either endowed, which means the donor gave, say, 50,000, $1 million. Um, the interest, and then the college invested that money, right? So the interest that accrues, which is usually 5%, that is what we use as our budget to give out every year for different scholarships. If it's a current use or restricted, that means the donor just gave us some money and said, hey, award 10 students $7,500. And when that money's gone, it's gone. But the endowed scholarship money is there forever in perpetuity, where the current use money is, it's from year to year. Like Portia gives us, I believe, $100,000. I give it out to 10 students every year. And then every year they send us another, hopefully, another
There we
$100,000. So that's how the different monies are used. Yes.
Awesome. 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 And I know we've been talking about scholarships and just before we kind of wrap here, housing is always a component of whether or not, does those scholarships are applicable to the housing or is it not? Do they cover housing or not, depending on the type of scholarships that you receive? So I'll give an example. The Lomax scholarship, with the Lomax cover housing and your cost of tuition and cost of fees?
It covers tuition, fees, housing, your meal plan, books, so textbooks, you get a book voucher. So yes, and if you live in the suites, I know the suites are a little bit higher than some of the traditional residence halls, but it still covers the suites. Your refund may be decreased because you're paying that higher cost to live in the suites. But yes, it does cover everything.
Right. And in that same case, then not necessarily would then the Oprah scholarship be able to do that.
Right. That's a partial scholarship. So yeah.
Got
So I
it.
believe tuition is for one semester is about what, 24,000 or some change, Jonathan. So it may cover tuition, and then you would have hopefully Pell Grant or other scholarships to cover the rest of that cost.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
This is a little nuanced, and I'm just gonna say it because some of that one-time funding, and like I said, you'll get a nice email from me letting you know that it's one-time funding. That money is not refundable, and I think that's important to know
Mhm.
because that
Say,
Yes.
money is used. It's to cover the financial gap. And so we talk about skin in the game and we talk about all of that, but know that if we put gap funding or that one-time funding on your account and it creates a credit balance, we will
yeah.
be taking it back because it needs to go to help the next
Mhm.
student that needs assistance. And so non-refundable. And I just wanted to say that.
No, that's good. That's good. And that's the reason why that's good is because I think people think, oh, I got some more money. And then they come at the next year or the next term and they're thinking, oh, I'm gonna get that again. It's very important that family, y'all are writing this stuff down because this is a wealth of knowledge. And I know this session will be recorded, which is great. So we definitely want that as well. We have time for two more questions. So I want to make sure that we get those questions answered. Um, so we have a question here. Is tuition, room, and board locked in at the same rate for the 4-year period, or does it vary by year?
So it varies by year. Um, I know that tuition increases by a certain percent. So I'm not really sure what that percentage is, but it does increase. So it is not a locked in. It is not a locked in rate. No. Room and board may, but I know that they are building new residential halls, and so um, housing and meals may increase. However, I am not privy to that information, but I will say that it is not going to be the same. So the 52,545 is good for this year, but it may not be that um, going into the fall.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And the last question I see here is what if a student applying for early action didn't meet the deadline because teacher did not complete the recommendation letter before the deadline, they completed after the deadline and submitted it? We get that sometimes, right? Not everybody is on it. And we do understand that our counselors and sometimes our teachers are overwhelmed with a lot, so they don't always get things in when they need to. That's case to case base. Depending on what we see, the admissions team will honor that and try to still get you a decision out during the allotment time in which we're in. What we ask for students to do is to check their portal. We ask students to log in because you're getting emails that are indicating whether or not your application is incomplete and when your application is completed. So that's very, very important that you see and that you're logging in to your application portal to see your status. And so, you'll be able to see that, you'll be able to know that. But if that's the situation, that's the case, I do ask that you follow up with the Office of Admissions and your designated recruiter for your area or territory so we can ensure that you don't have those same problems or issues moving forward. So hopefully that answers that question. I definitely want to give an opportunity for closing remarks to both Rhonda and to Director Jonathan Jordan. So Rhonda, we'll start with you. What is it that you want students to be prepared for? Of course, you prepared them well. I think this was an amazing session. But what are some of the things you would want to ensure that they know?
Wow. Wow. Like I said, in that essay, just your opportunity to shine and brag about yourself. Also have your parents, your guidance counselor, pastor, whoever, review your essays before you submit them. Check for, grammatical errors, spelling, and things like that. So, but I look forward to talking to you. If you have questions, feel free to email me, call me. Um, I'm here for you. So best of luck to you all.
Yes, and Director Jordan.
I'm going to say it 3 times. Check your email. Check your email. Check your email. Because with financial aid, we're typically not sending out a lot of communication. But if we're emailing you and requesting something, it is most likely important, and it's going to determine whether or not you have the proper financing to cover your stay here at Morehouse. So whether that's making sure that uh, you are meeting SAP, if you're selected for verification, if we're missing documents from you, we're emailing you for a reason. And so if you see Student Financial Services has sent you an email, please take time to review it and submit and or respond to whatever it is that we're asking, because that determines on if you're able to finance your education.
Absolutely. Check your email, y'all. Check your email. But we're sending it. We want you to get to the know, but you don't know if you don't read. So read and check your emails. I will make a point of a regular decision. Regular decision is February the 1st, and students will be notified on March the 15th. So by all means, if you're still applying to the college, you still want to be interested in Morehouse, apply by February 1st so you can get notified by March the 15th, as that is the last option to be able to find yourself being a Morehouse man. Now, I will go ahead and say, I don't want you to wait till the last minute, but I definitely got my letter April the 20th, and I ran around my high school building once I was accepted. So, do it on time, but it's never too late. Okay. And so with that, I appreciate the call, appreciate your time. The tragedy lies not in reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goals to reach for. Not failure, but low aim is sin. Aim high, do great, exceed with wonders, and we are here to support you. Thank you so much to Rhonda, our major person over donor relations and support, to Director Jonathan Jordan over our financial aid team and financial aid office. Thank you both for this amazing session, and to the team that made this happen. Thank you all again. You all have a wonderful night. Take care, and God bless.